Rollback and undo. Rollback is manual rollback management. Undo is automated rollback management. Using automated undo is really automatic rollback. Once again, rollback is the information used to undo changes to the database which has yet been committed. Automated undo is introduced in later versions of Oracle. Traditionally, manual rollback is difficult to tune. In order to use manual rollback, you have to set the undo management parameter to manual. You have to specify and build individual rollback segments. It is a good idea if those rollback segments are all consistent. If you have separate sets of rollback segments which are not consistent, in other words, their sizes are different, they would generally apply to different applications. Those applications would probably be daytime activity, small transactions in an OLTP database, lots and lots of small rollback segments. Nighttime batch processing, changing lots of data, would have large rollback segments specifically assigned to large transactions, and they would be switched online for a specific transaction and then switched offline after the transaction has completed. Using automated rollback or automated undo, you have to set the undo management parameter to auto. As I said, automated undo is really automated rollback. It does not require specification of rollback segments, and it does not require tuning of each of those rollback segments. So when you specify rollback segments for manual rollback, you would have to tune those individual rollback segments. Typically, an OLTP database will have a large number of small rollback segments, where you minimize the number of transactions per rollback segment. What you're trying to do is you're trying to spread as many transactions as possible across as many rollback segments as possible. So an individual rollback segment at any one time would have the lowest number of transactions. If you had a small number of large rollback segments, you would end up with a lot of transactions sharing a small number of rollback segments or sharing individual rollback segments. In theory, this is less efficient. For a lot of batch processing, you would have a very small number or a few rollback segments which are very large. Effectively, large rollback segments can minimize errors. In an OLTP database, you might want to create a large number of rollback segments and set the max extents parameter to prevent ad hoc transactions from causing what's called a runaway transaction. Although in modern day OLTP applications, this is much less likely. They tend to be online and the transactions tend to be contained within the application. Ad hoc SQL code is more likely in client-server environments, or perhaps from client-server type activity within a company through a web interface, effectively competing with OLTP activity from outside the company. Automated undo requires a lot less tuning than manual rollback segments. As I already said, you've got to set the undo management parameter to auto. There's another parameter called undo retention. What does undo retention do? In the Oracle documentation, the undo retention parameter is defined in seconds as being a period of time for which already committed rollback information is kept or retained. This retention of committed rollback information is used for options such as flashback queries. A flashback query is where you can go into the database and execute a query at a period of time regardless of the presence of rollback information, redo logs, etc. According to the Oracle documentation, the undo retention parameter does not affect the way in which rollback information is retained prior to the execution of commit commands. In other words, if you set the undo retention parameter very low, it will not cause a snapshot to old area because the undo retention parameter is based on a period of time. It would make sense that if the undo retention parameter was set far too low, such as a ridiculously low value like 5, defaults for OLTP databases are generally 900, and for data warehouses are in the range of 10,000. That's for the database configuration assistant creating a database. It is possible that with a very low value, that the period of time will actually intrude on rollback information which is not committed. This is unclear in the documentation, and I'm getting conflicting responses from various DBAs out in the field. At the moment, I will leave the precise definition of the undo retention parameter either for later or until the documentation becomes clearer.